going on, everybody? Welcome back to TTP Ravens Media. Forgot to bring my mic closer, but we are going to be talking about this Ravens-Falcons preseason game. Now, this probably won't be too long of a video. Sorry I couldn't get it out right away, but figured I'd still want to do it live, talk with you guys. If you guys have any comments, questions, we can mention it. We'll definitely make more videos about it throughout the week, but, overall, I thought this was a pretty boring game. Some of the biggest questions that we had was how's the quarterback play going to be after, what was essentially the worst quarterback play you can imagine in the last preseason game. And I think Josh Johnson definitely stepped up. That isn't to say that he was, exceptional by any means, which I think a lot of people might get slightly upset at if I criticize him because his completion percentage, I don't think he actually missed a pass. But his first couple of drives were really not good. When I was watching it, sorry, ESPN doesn't have the statistics, so I'm trying to pull it up on NFL.com, and hopefully they have the passing statistics. But let's see here. Okay, they do. So Josh Johnson goes 11 for 11, but I felt like his pocket presence, his speed in terms of just reading the defense, it was not good. He was, he looked really bad those first couple of drives, even though he was completing passes. He did end up looking good in his last two drives that he had on offense, but, definitely was a step up from what we saw previously. Devin Leary then came into the game. And once again, I'm really disappointed with Devin Leary and what he is showing. He did come in for like the final Ravens drives of the game. I didn't really count those. I was just thinking about, what we saw from him in the first half, and it was just not that much. But in terms of Emory Jones, who unfortunately only had one snap in the first preseason game, he looked fantastic. That's the absolute perfect bounce back for a player like him who played one snap in the first game, gets strip sacked from behind, comes out in the next game, goes 7 for 9, 100 yards, one touchdown. And that touchdown was a 50-yard touchdown for Dayton Wade. Fantastic route by Dayton Wade. Great throw. We've been looking for a guy that can try and give some guys some shots deep down the field. And Emory Jones at least looked like a guy that he was willing to do it, and he was able to do it. So really liked what I saw to him. I hope we get to see a lot more of him in the next game because he was at least giving players opportunities down the field, and his rushing ability was probably the best of all the backups, and he has the strongest arm. In terms of rushing the football, I thought Chris Collier was the best running back today. Owen Wright wasn't bad by any means, but I think Chris Collier did a much better job of falling forward. He did good job on he did a good job falling forward every time. He caught the ball pretty well. Unfortunately didn't get that 2-point conversion that the Ravens went for, but it was still a fantastic catch. He got drilled in the back at the 1-yard line, still was able to come down with it. So that shows his hands. But I really liked what I saw to Chris Collier. Both him and Owen Wright did good job on the kick returns. Much better. They seem to be the two best for Ravens kickoffs. Deontay Hardy, I did not think looked good at it at all. He's too patient. He's trying to be really slow and read the hole. And that's maybe what a punt returner should be doing. But with these new kickoff rules, it doesn't make sense to try and go slow. You got to make quick reactions. And Owen Wright and Chris Collier really looked like they're able to shoot that gap. Devin Leary got outplayed and Harbaugh wasn't happy. Yeah, Harbaugh was not happy, I think, this whole game. The offense still looked sloppy. There were some definite missed throws. Obviously, the snap from Ben Cleveland that went way over Josh Johnson's head and was a turnover. That was very disappointing. But other than that, all in all, everything seemed to look pretty fine. Trenton Simpson looked spectacular. I can honestly say I don't think Trenton Simpson needs to play in this final preseason game because he just has looked so good in the about full game that he's now played if you combine the first two games. So really like what I've seen out of Trenton Simpson. He's definitely going to be the starter. He's definitely going to be pretty darn good. And so I did want to give him a shout out. Let's see here. Dayton Wade showed up as expected. Absolutely. He played very well statistically. He had, let's see, 2 receptions for 67 yards, and obviously one of those was that big touchdown play. I also want to shout out Tylan Wallace. Did come out there and got a really nice catch over the middle of the field. Got us down, right at the goal line when the Ravens were able to eventually punch it in. But good job from Tylan Wallace there. He doesn't necessarily need a ton of wide receiver snaps. We know what he can do, but when he's been out there at the beginning of games, he's looked solid. Something that's been a little bit surprising is how much Keith Kirkwood has played. He's been a starting receiver in both games, and that may be due to Tez Walker being out with his I believe it's a rib injury or maybe it's a hamstring injury. I can't remember exactly. He's had a couple of injuries, but he was out on one special teams play, but he's yet to really play in the offense, and that's due to that injury. A little bit worrisome. Hopefully he's able to get healthy so that we can see him in the preseason because we want to find out what exactly he's got and what he brings to the table. DB says he doesn't like Pepe on punt returns. Hopefully it's just a preseason thing. Yeah, it's probably just a preseason thing. I don't mind him on punt returns, but I definitely think the Ravens might have better options. I think Tylan Wallace on punt returns is good. Deontay Hardy, I'm surprised we didn't give him a shot. He was a former All-Pro returner, but we're gonna see exactly what the Ravens end up doing because we did lose Duvernay, but also remember Justice Hill could do it. Maybe Chris Collier or Owen Wright could try and do it. We don't know exactly what the Ravens are going to lean in that aspect, but I didn't think he did a terrible job. His first punt return was okay. He was a little bit too twitchy. He was trying to, bounce back and forth a little bit too much. You got to just pick a hole and go for it, but wasn't terrible. Malik Cunningham looked good, had some big first downs. Yeah, I thought he was solid. He definitely had a huge first down over on the right side of the field. On fourth down, we ran that, the good old-fashioned roll out to the right quick throw into the flats. Greg Roman's favorite play, but, it was all right. And then I don't know who allowed the sack. I'll have to look back on that. Dresky, I mean, we're just waiting on him to get healthy. And once he's healthy, we'll be able to see what we have. Putting a guard at center. I mean, center isn't necessarily that hard to play. Obviously, you have to get the snaps down, but I think the reason that they're doing that is they're trying to see if he can get reps there to just be a backup or if he ends up starting, but having depth for a player that can play multiple spots is important. And I don't know if he's going to continue being the backup center or if they'll have him play some guard, but we're yet to really see what the Ravens want to do with the depth on the offensive line because they have Makari, they have Ben Cleveland, they have Sala. There's a lot of different options that they have there. But I don't know. I felt like this game was again incredibly boring the way that the Ravens were running it. Anthony Miller looked really good. You could tell that he was the veteran. I could say he has experience playing NFL football because when we started going to that quick offense, Josh Johnson knew exactly who to throw it to. Hit him on the outbreaking route every time. He did it 2 or 3 times in a row. It was just okay, yes, this is what Anthony Miller can bring. He's a vet. He knows what he's doing, and the Ravens like that. So I'm really happy with what I saw at him. Salah looked solid. The offensive line towards the end of the game was really good. The beginning of the game, it was not good. Now, we're going to have to, I haven't rewatched it yet. Obviously the game ended, just a little bit ago. So, we'll have to see exactly what the issues were, who was getting beat, the pressures and stuff like that. But, we'll find out. Remember, preseason wins don't matter, but it's nice to get a win. So I would agree with this, JJ. It just comes down to if he can overthrow Josh Johnson, because I'll say this. I I think Josh Johnson still sucks. I've been saying it for years. I don't think he's good. I have a buddy that's a 49ers fan, and when Josh Johnson stepped into the game in that playoff game where Brock Purdy got hurt, he was pissed. He's like, "Why is Josh Johnson even playing? He's horrifying." He came in. I think his first play was an interception. Josh Johnson is not good, and I really hope that Emory Jones is given the opportunity to try and take that spot from him because he looked really good today. Um, and I like that. Chaos, I mean, it just depends. Like sometimes in matchups, if he's able to get up and get off of his stance, then he can be fine, but his get up is really slow. Why keep JJ over Snoop? Because Snoop's even worse. Josh Johnson's better than Snoop, I would say. Snoop is not a good thrower of the football. That's really the issue. Like he can make it more exciting. His legs give you more of a chance, but you really don't have much of a chance with Snoop playing quarterback. The benefit of Josh Johnson to defend him is he is an experienced veteran. He's played in a bunch of games. If you need him to go on one drive, he could potentially do that. But again, I still feel like Ryan Tannehill is the perfect backup option. And KJ, I've been hating on Snoop since he came to the Ravens. I've never thought Snoop was good. I probably never will give us. I will never think Snoop is good. So that's my thoughts on Snoop. I've talked about him after every preseason game. I've never been a big fan of his. He's fun to watch, but I don't think he's very good. I mean, I think Tez is a lock to make the roster because he's a 4th round pick, and the only reason he hasn't been producing is because he's injured. Like the Ravens aren't going to just waste a 4th round pick and not put him on the roster because he got hurt during the preseason games. But there's also a situation where maybe he goes on IR or, one of those injured lists. And so then we can add a spot for a Miller or a Dayton Wade. But I think Tylan Wallace is an absolute lock to make the team because he's one of the best special teams players in the league. He's a fantastic gunner. Yeah. Now, this is true in terms of long-term injury. If Lamar goes down long-term, like any quarterback, Mahomes goes down long-term, Josh Allen goes down long-term, their season's over. But if it's a situation where Lamar has a concussion, knock on wood, and he has to miss a week, and we really need one game out of a guy, or maybe Lamar, has a situation like he did in Cleveland a few years ago. He has to go to the bathroom, or as he said, he had cramps, and he misses 2 or 3 drives. Do we have a player that can step in and make a couple of plays? That's what the backup quarterback is there for. Because almost every team is done if they lose their starting quarterback. It's more of, hey, if we need you to play in a game or a half or a quarter, would you be able to hold the line? I still can't shake the 19 Titans game, last year's Chiefs game, best team in the league by far. Just have to coach throw it away. Makes the regular season feel pointless to watch. Yeah, it is pretty frustrating. And I thought Evan Washburn had a great question for Lamar Jackson during the sideline interview that they did, essentially asking him, obviously last year you got so far. Is it frustrating that now you have to play in all of these games and put in all of this work just to get to the exact same spot you're in last year, right? You still have to play the preseason. You still have to play the regular season. You have to get through your bye week. And so many of these games where even if the Ravens are expected to win, you still have to go out there and do your business, all so that you have a chance of getting back to that AFC Championship game and then hopefully a Super Bowl and winning it. But it is frustrating. Watching the regular season, the benefit is it's a benefit and it's a curse, right? Because 5 years ago, maybe more 10 years ago, 15 years ago in college football, the BCS era of college football, every game was so incredibly stressful. Like as a Stanford fan, towards the end when Stanford was good, having Andrew Luck and such, like if they lost a game in the regular season, my week was ruined because I was like, they lost their chance at the national championship. With the NFL, you lose 5 games, you're still almost guaranteed a playoff spot. You can still make the playoffs at 6 losses. You can probably make it at 7 losses. So like it's definitely doable. And so it does feel a little bit frustrating, but it's still, hey, you're still going for that first seed. You're still trying to win your division. So the games matter a little bit more. Then you look at other leagues and you look at like the NBA. And I'm an OKC fan. I've gone through years of us being really good. I've gone through years of us being really, really bad. But sometimes you're playing against a team, and I'm sorry if there's any like Detroit Pistons fans here, but like you're playing the Pistons, and you're like, dude, do I have to watch this game? Like it doesn't matter. I still watch. I watch all the games, but a lot of people don't watch those games because they're just like, regular season doesn't matter. You win 53 games, you're locked into the playoffs. And then there's like MLB, and I'm a Braves fan, if you guys can't tell. Oh no, my hat's gonna be really bad now. I'm a Braves fan, but like 162 games. Regular season doesn't matter at all until September, and then obviously playoffs in October. But really, it's the grind of getting through all that just to have those small moments decide it all, right? You spend 364 days of the year preparing for one moment, one game, right? The AFC Championship game, and you lose. You got to go another 364 days before you get another opportunity. And no matter what you do, you can't make it come faster. And that's, really difficult, I think, not just for fans, but for players, because Lamar Jackson has a chip on his shoulder. He has since the day he has since he went to Louisville. He had it in high school. He wants to get back to that opportunity, and he wants to show everybody that he can get it done. Yeah. Doom, I think this is the perfect phrase for it. The curse of having a perennial top 5 team. And what's also funny about the Ravens is every year it's like, even though the expectation should always be, hey, this is one of the best teams in the NFL, every year with Lamar Jackson at quarterback, the Ravens go from like at the end of the year, regular season, they're like a top 2 team every time. And then all of a sudden, like the next year starts, and it's like the Ravens are maybe a top 10 team. And I'm like, why are they dropping so much? They still have Lamar Jackson. They still have Mark Andrews. They still have all of these players. So it makes no sense for me when I'm looking at all of this as like, oh, the Ravens, are they going to be able to be win their division? It's like, they have a tough division. If they don't win it, it's not the end of the world. But like people are like questioning, will they make the playoffs? I'm like, what? Like, yeah, I just think the Houston Texans and the Lions and, all and the Eagles and Cowboys are all just so much better than the Ravens right now. And I'm like, I don't understand this notion that the Ravens got worse. Obviously they lost some pieces, but they added Derrick Henry. I don't know how that gets overlooked as much as it does. Chars, I completely agree. I only read the first sentence, but I completely agree. I'll read the rest. Patrick Queen was never good, just a product of playing with Roquan. Yes, I've never been a Patrick Queen guy. Simpson will be just as good, if not better than him, and PQ will play trash for the Steelers. I hope he does. Mike Tomlin runs a good defense over there. He might play all right, but I don't think he'll be a Pro Bowler. Just look at PQ with and without Roquan. Yeah, definitely. I think Patrick Queen, when people wanted to re-sign Patrick Queen, I never understood it. We drafted Trenton Simpson. Trenton Simpson plays very similar to Patrick Queen, but he's better in pass coverage, or at least he was in college. So, the question was, hey, how quickly can he develop? And I don't know. And Raven for Life, I agree. It's like, I'll give you if someone has like drastic questions about, hey, I just don't think this defense without Mike McDonald can stand the test of time. Okay, I'll give you that. But outside of like losing Mike McDonald, when people bring up, oh, you lost Patrick Queen, you lost Geno Stone, I mentioned those were the 2 biggest liabilities on the Ravens defense last year. The other thing is we did lose Clowney. Clowney did lead, was one of our best sack and pass rushers on the team. But like other than that, we added Derrick Henry. We added to our secondary with both Nate Wiggins and uh, Marcus Williams is now healthy. He was hurt last year. That's the only reason Geno Stone played. Marcus Williams is much better than Geno Stone. And so I'm with you, Raven for life. I don't get it. But overall, I was really sad when Taylor Heineke walked out there and I didn't get to watch any Michael Penix. Like, come on. I was so excited for this game. I was like, oh, sweet. We get to watch Michael Penix. And then Heineke strolls out there. I was like, I guess we don't get Michael Penix. Instead, this is just going to be a really boring game to watch from the Falcons because they don't have any entertaining rookies. But, overall, it was a decent game. I'm glad the Ravens were able to pull it out. But I loved what we saw to Emory Jones. I think he was the biggest spotlight of new players. And then obviously Trenton Simpson was fantastic. But this isn't going to be a long live stream. I think that's probably going to do it. Just wanted to do the reaction live so you guys can just kind of hear my thought process. I could talk to you guys for a little bit, but let me know in the comment section down below, either live or in post. What are your thoughts on this Ravens game? Who do you think showed out? Who do you think stepped up? And who do you think disappointed? Because there were definitely some disappointments as well. Thank you so much. Subscribe for more. I'll be back with another video tomorrow.